Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. How often do you truly feel the reality you wish to experience? Not just think about it, not just hope for it, but feel it with every fiber of your being as though it has already come to pass. This, my friends, is the key to unlocking a life beyond your wildest dreams. And today, I will teach you how to feel it. We live in a world where most are focused on the outer conditions of life, always waiting for the circumstances to change before they can change. But the truth is, your inner world is the creator of your outer world. You are not a passive observer waiting for life to happen to you. No, you are the architect of your own reality. It all begins with one simple truth, the power of your imagination. Imagination is not just a tool for idle daydreaming. It is the vehicle through which the universe responds to you. What you imagine is not fantasy. It is the first spark of creation. But imagination, my friends, is not enough. The secret lies in how you feel about what you imagine. You see, the feeling is the true secret. When you imagine something, it is the feeling behind that imagination that brings it into being. Thoughts alone do not manifest. It is the emotional charge, the deep embodied sense of belief that you already have it, that causes the magic to unfold. You must feel it as if it is already yours. But how do you feel it? You must live from the end. Don't wait for something to happen before you feel it. Feel it now. Feel as though the desire you wish to experience is already fulfilled. This is not wishful thinking. This is the key to manifestation. When you feel the end result with such conviction and clarity, the world will shape itself around your inner experience. Faith, my friends, is not just a hopeful belief that something will happen someday. Faith is knowing that what you imagine and feel is already part of your reality, though you may not see it yet with your physical eyes. The power behind faith is trust. The trust that the universe is already responding to the vibrations you send out. You are the creator. Understand this and take responsibility. The life you have today is the result of what you have thought and felt in the past. But it's never too late to change. You have the power to create a new experience by simply shifting your thoughts and feelings. What you hold in your mind with belief and conviction, you can and will bring into being. Take note of your inner conversations. What are you saying to yourself about your life, your desires, your possibilities? These silent dialogues have more power than you realize. Change them and you change your world. Speak to yourself in the language of your desires as though they are already yours. The inner conversation shapes your outer reality more than any action you could take. Finally, persistence is the secret to bringing it all together. It is not enough to feel it once and expect the world to change. You must persist in feeling it day in and day out, until the feeling becomes so real that you cannot help but see the evidence of it in your life. Your persistence is the bridge that carries your desires from the realm of thought into the realm of experience. So today, I ask you to begin the practice of feeling it. Feel your desires, not as something distant or far off, but as something that is already here, already a part of you. Feel it with your whole being. Live in the end, trust in the process, and persist. The universe has no choice but to respond. The power of imagination is the foundation of all creation. It is not a whimsical escape from reality, but the very source from which reality is born. Everything that now exists, every invention, every structure, every relationship, every life path, first lived in the unseen realm of someone's imagination. Imagination is the workshop of the soul, the place where all things are conceived before they are made manifest. It is not bound by logic, time, or physical limitation. Within it, we are free to rearrange the world, to mold circumstances, to experience what is yet to be visible. Most people believe the imagination is child's play, a pleasant distraction with no bearing on the facts of life. But in truth, It is the causal plane. What you consistently imagine and feel becomes what you experience. Imagination, when used deliberately and consciously, is not merely daydreaming. It is the act of creation itself. When you enter into a scene in your mind and feel it with all your senses, you set into motion forces far greater than any external effort could achieve. You impress your subconscious mind, and it, in turn, orchestrates events, connections, and outcomes to bring your inner picture to life. What you imagine with feeling takes root in the deepest part of you, and once it takes root, it must grow. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It simply responds to what you consistently feed it. Through imagination, you can revise your past, reshape your present, and pre-design your future. You are never at the mercy of your circumstances, because your imagination allows you to transcend them. It is your power to see beyond what is and enter into what can be. When you engage your imagination fully, you do not merely observe life, you direct it. You move beyond the role of passive experiencer and step into your role as the conscious creator. In imagination, you rehearse the life you choose to live, not to escape this world, but to command it. The world outside bends to the inner script. Every time you imagine a new version of yourself or your life and truly feel it, you are writing a new chapter into the story of your reality. This power has always been with you. You have used it every day, whether you were aware of it or not. The difference now is that you begin to use it with intention. You stop reacting and start imagining. You stop waiting and begin assuming. You stop looking to the world for permission and start looking within for vision. The greatest shifts begin not with action, but with a change in how you imagine. The feeling is the secret, because it is the gateway between the invisible and the visible, between the imagined and the experienced. While thoughts are the seeds of creation, it is feeling that waters those seeds and gives them life. A thought without feeling is like a shell without substance. It holds the idea, but lacks the energy to bring it forth. Feeling gives depth and texture to the image you hold in your mind. It is the emotional charge that impresses the subconscious, which then sets the pattern for your reality. Everything you experience in your life is a mirror of the dominant feelings you hold within. You may believe that events shape your emotions, but it is your emotions that shape events. If you feel lack, life will reflect scarcity. If you feel abundance, the world will rearrange to meet that inner certainty. The feeling you embody is the creative mold from which your future takes form. It is not enough to think of the life you desire. You must feel it as if it were already yours. When you enter a scene in imagination and saturate yourself with the feeling of fulfillment, joy, confidence, peace, gratitude, you begin to condition the inner state from which outer conditions arise. Your subconscious does not respond to words, nor does it respond to effort. It responds to the feeling behind the thought. It responds to the state of being you dwell in, whether by intention or habit. This is why repeating affirmations without feeling rarely yields change, but a single moment of true, embodied emotion can alter the course of your life. Feeling is the substance of belief. It is the deep inner knowing that something is real even before the senses confirm it. And when you persist in that feeling, reality begins to catch up. Your senses will eventually witness what you have first accepted as true in feeling. The world outside must reflect the vibration within, for it has no choice but to conform to the state you consistently embody. You are always feeling something. The question is not whether you feel, but whether you are choosing your feelings or letting them be dictated by the world around you. When you take command of your inner state, when you deliberately cultivate the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you begin to live from the cause of life rather than reacting to its effects. You moved from waiting to knowing, from hoping to embodying. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is not just a technique, it is the secret. It is the essence of creation, the force that draws unseen realities into form. It bypasses the limitations of logic and the resistance of doubt. When you truly feel the reality of your desire, you bypass all the barriers that once stood in your way. You align yourself with the outcome, not through force, but through inner alignment. Feeling is the language of creation, and when you speak it fluently, the world listens. Living from the end means assuming the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. It is a conscious shift in identity, a movement in awareness, where you no longer see your desire as something distant or hoped for, but as something present and real within your inner world. You step into the state of already having, already being, already experiencing what you once saw as future. In doing so, you align yourself with the outcome, not by effort or striving, but by embodiment. When you live from the end, you bypass the need for circumstances to give you permission to feel successful, loved, healthy, or free. You no longer wait for evidence from the outer world to confirm your inner knowing. You decide internally and absolutely that it is done. This inner decision is not passive or imaginative in the way most people understand those words. It is a bold declaration made in silence. It is the steady state of consciousness that refuses to waver in the face of appearances. The world outside will often contradict what you are imagining. It may offer resistance, delay, or even the appearance of failure. But none of that matters when you are living from the end. The inner reality holds its ground. The outer must conform, not by force, but by law. What you are being inwardly is what life becomes outwardly. You cannot live in a state of fulfilled love and continue to attract the absence of it. You cannot dwell in the confidence of success and remain unnoticed for long. The state you occupy eventually saturates every area of your life. Living from the end requires discipline, but not the kind the world often praises. It is not about willpower or control. It is the discipline of focus. It is the willingness to return again and again to the feeling of already being what you desire to be. It means catching yourself when you slip back into old states of doubt or lack and choosing instead to re-enter the state of fulfillment, not with force, but with quiet certainty. To live from the end is to take your attention away from what is lacking and place it entirely on what is true in imagination. You begin to think from the state, not of it. You are no longer the person who is becoming. You are the person who is. And when you are that person in feeling, in tone, in inner conviction, the world must reflect it. Life bends to your assumption, not because you demand it, but because you become it. Every time you imagine a scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled and you feel it, dwell in it, and return to it, you are constructing a new reality. And that inner construction, though invisible, is more real than anything you can touch. Eventually, the senses will catch up, the world will rearrange, and what was once only a felt reality will become a lived one. The power of faith lies not in blind hope or wishful thinking, but in the unshakable inner knowing that what is imagined and felt is already a fact, even if unseen by the physical eye. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the force that holds the imagined reality in place long enough for it to harden into form. It is not concerned with evidence, logic, or time. It is a quiet, immovable confidence that what you have assumed in consciousness must come to pass. Faith does not ask when or how. It simply rests in the certainty that it is. To operate in faith is to believe in the reality of the unseen more than in the facts presented by the senses. This is not delusion, it is creation. Faith lifts you out of the cycle of reaction and places you firmly in the seat of authorship. It is the refusal to be swayed by appearances, the inner stance that says, I know it is done, even when there is nothing to confirm it in the outer world. Faith does not waver with changing conditions. It is the steady alignment with your assumption, held with clarity and depth until the world mirrors it back. You cannot hold faith in one moment and then doubt in the next and expect a consistent unfolding of your desire. Faith is the state of sustained conviction, a vibration that becomes your dwelling place. It is a posture of being, not something you switch on and off. When you truly have faith, you do not need to monitor the world for proof. You do not check the outer for signs. You remain anchored in the inner reality, knowing it is already complete, in the unseen. This kind of faith is not hard to generate. It is already yours. It is a natural capacity of consciousness, but it must be directed. It is always working either for or against you, depending on where you place your belief. If you place faith in doubt, in delay, in the permanence of your current conditions, then those too will be faithfully reflected back to you. Faith does not discriminate. It simply amplifies the state you embody most consistently. True faith is silent. It doesn't boast or plead. It simply assumes and rests. It moves with confidence, not urgency. It sees beyond appearances and holds the feeling of the wish fulfilled without needing constant reassurance. This is not stubbornness. It is alignment. It is the deep understanding that the creative act is internal, and once complete within, it must manifest without. Faith allows you to persist. It gives you the strength to remain loyal to your vision, even when the world seems to contradict it. It carries you through the gap between assumption and manifestation. It steadies your mind when doubts arise and calls you back to the inner reality where the end is already accomplished. In that quiet certainty, you find your true power, not in effort, but in belief. Faith is not something you try to have. It is something you decide to live from. And when you do, the outer world cannot help but follow. You are the creator of your reality, not by accident or luck, but by the nature of your own consciousness. The world you experience is not something happening to you. It is happening through you, shaped by your assumptions, beliefs, and most importantly, your sustained inner state. The life you are living right now, in all its detail and emotion, is the outward reflection of the thoughts and feelings you have most consistently entertained. There is no external force scripting your experience. It is your own awareness, directed and focused, that writes the story you walk through each day. Every moment, whether consciously or unconsciously, you are imagining, feeling, and believing something, and every one of those inner movements is creative. Nothing comes into your world uninvited. What you accept as true for yourself, what you dwell upon, what you expect without question, that is what shapes your environment. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are, not in words, but in your persistent state of being. Your reality bends to your assumptions, because assumptions, when deeply felt, become laws unto themselves. It is not enough to wish for change or to hope that things will improve. Creation is not passive. It requires a shift in identity, a conscious decision to take full responsibility for what shows up in your life. This is not to blame yourself for past experiences, but to awaken you to the power you have always had and perhaps never fully used. The moment you realize you are the one imagining it all, you gain access to the only true creative force in existence, your own awareness. The outer world is a mirror, not a cause. It reflects the contents of your inner world with perfect accuracy. If your inner world is filled with doubt, fear, or limitation, the outer must echo that back. If it is filled with confidence, love, and fulfillment, those will appear around you like reflections in still water. The shift happens within first. Always within. When you change the way you see yourself, when you embody a new state and dwell in it with consistency, everything else rearranges itself accordingly. You are not bound by your past unless you choose to carry it forward in consciousness. You are not limited by conditions unless you believe in their power over you. The same imagination that may have trapped you in old patterns has the power to set you free. The moment you claim your authorship and begin to imagine deliberately, feel with intention, and live as if your vision were already true, you activate the creative mechanism that transforms ideas into fact. Creation is not reserved for a select few. It is not about special talents or extraordinary effort. It is about understanding and using the power that is already yours. You are the source from which your life flows. You are the writer, the actor, the director of the entire experience. And as soon as you stop waiting for the world to change and start changing yourself inwardly, you will see evidence of your authorship in ways so profound they will seem like miracles, though they are nothing more than the natural result of you finally stepping into your role as the creator. The inner conversation is the continuous, often unnoticed dialogue that runs through your mind from the moment you wake to the moment you sleep. It is the quiet voice that comments, interprets, judges, assumes, and reacts, not aloud, but in the privacy of your consciousness. And while it may seem harmless or even irrelevant, it is, in truth, the blueprint of your reality. The words you speak within yourself carry creative power, forming the tone, direction, and substance of your outer, whether supportive or sabotaging. Your inner dialogue is always shaping the life you experience. These internal conversations are not idle talk. They are decisions. When you argue for your limitations inwardly, when you rehearse your disappointments or fear what may go wrong, you are not merely expressing thoughts. You are establishing states of being. The subconscious mind listens carefully and takes these inner statements as commands. It does not question or interpret. It accepts whatever is persistently imagined and felt as truth and moves to bring it about. So when you tell yourself, this is too hard, or I always fail, you are setting a course that your reality will faithfully follow. But just as inner conversation can limit, it can also liberate. When you begin to take conscious control of your internal speech, you engage in one of the most direct and powerful forms of creation. You begin to rewrite the story you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible. Instead of repeating old patterns and confirming your fears, you start to affirm your desires as already realized. You shift from thinking of your goals to thinking from them. You inhabit a new identity through your inner language, and with persistence, that identity takes root and expresses itself outwardly. Your inner speech reveals your true assumptions. You may claim to believe in success, love, or abundance, but if your inner dialogue is filled with worry, criticism, and self-doubt, that is the vibration you are sending out, and that is what must return to you. It is not enough to speak affirmations for a few minutes a day if the rest of your time is spent contradicting them with internal resistance. The inner conversation must become consistent. It must align with the reality you choose to create. It must reflect the state of being you wish to embody. Begin to observe this inner voice without judgment, not to suppress it, but to understand where your current assumptions lie. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Once you recognize the patterns, you can redirect them. You can replace fear with assurance, lack with abundance, guilt with self-compassion. You can talk to yourself as the person you intend to be, not as the person you have been. This is not about fantasy. It is about alignment. It is about choosing your thoughts deliberately and persisting in them until they become the natural language of your mind. The transformation does not come from trying to change the world around you, but from changing the tone within you. Speak from the reality you desire as if it were already unfolding before you. Hold conversations in your imagination where your goals are accomplished, your needs are met, your relationships are loving and whole. Make that version of yourself the one you commune with daily, and the world will begin to take on the shape of your new inner dialogue. And so, now you know. You have felt it, perhaps just a flicker, perhaps a flood, but now it is alive in you. The idea that you are not separate from your desires, that you are not at the mercy of circumstances, that you are not here to chase life, but to shape it. You are the one who imagines, the one who feels, the one who creates. And if you will only remember this, if you will feel it, believe it, live from it, your world cannot help but conform to the image you hold within. This journey is not about adding anything to yourself. It is about uncovering what has always been there, the quiet, constant power of your own consciousness. The truth that what you dare to assume, what you dare to feel as real, what you dare to persist in, must come to pass. Not because of chance, but because of law. So I say to you now, feel it. Feel it until it is real. Feel it until you no longer need to see it to believe it. Because belief, not sight, is the real creative act. Thank you for listening, and more than that, thank you for feeling.